Hello everyone, I'm Golda and I handle library marketing for Norton. Thank you for tuning in today. In this video, I'm presenting highlights from our fiction and poetry titles coming out in January to April 2021. You can find more videos on our nonfiction titles and our children's titles in the library marketing playlist on the Norton YouTube channel. And you can go back and catch up on the book buzzes from June in case you missed any of them. I'm putting a bunch of useful links in the description, where to find digital ARCs, how to sign up for our newsletter, links to our catalogs, and more. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at www.nortonlibrary, and you're welcome to email me if you have any questions. Library Reads is a nationwide staff picks list that is selected by public library staff each month. Anyone who works for a public library can vote for titles, and their recommended book might make it onto the monthly list. You do not need to have an MLS to participate. You vote in advance, so for example, the votes for books that are being published in January are due by December 1st. Library Reads has full explanations and instructions on their website at libraryreads.org. Another new place to find out about new and forthcoming books is on the Alma Book Buzz channel. A group of publishers teamed up to produce a series of videos. Each video has 3 or 4 different publishers talking about one book each, so they're not too long and you get a lot of variety. We will post new videos every Tuesday through the end of the year, and there are a bunch of videos from this past spring and summer that you can check out. I'm starting out with titles from Norton and Live Right, and the exciting news is that the National Book Award long list was announced recently, and we had several titles from Norton, Live Right, Tin House, and New Directions on the long list for fiction, nonfiction, poetry, and translated literature. The Five Wounds by Kirsten Valdezquade is a novel that spans a year in the life of a family in a small town in northern New Mexico. Amadeo gets home from a planning meeting for the Holy Week procession and finds his estranged, pregnant teenage daughter on the porch. Amadeo still lives with his mother, so he encourages his daughter Angel to go stay somewhere else. But she is a force to be reckoned with, and she will not be put off. The Five Wounds spans the baby's first year as 5 generations of the Padilla family converge. Amadeo's mother, Yolanda, reeling from a recent discovery, Angel's mother, whom Angel isn't speaking to, and disapproving Tio Tive, keeper of the family's history. In the absorbing realist tradition of Elizabeth Strout and Jonathan Franzen, Kirsten Valdezquade conjures characters that will linger long after the final page, bringing to life their struggles to parent children they may not be equipped to save. Stephen Pressfield is best known for his novels Gates of Fire and Tides of War. He also wrote The Legend of Bagger Vance, and last year he came over to Norton with a post-apocalyptic novel, 36 Righteous Men. His new book, A Man at Arms, is a return to the ancient world he knows so well. For years, fans have been clamoring for a book with Telamon, who was a recurring character in his previous novels, as the protagonist. Now, Telamon takes center stage, hired by the Romans to intercept an incendiary letter from a religious fanatic calling himself Paul the Apostle to insurrectionists in Corinth. Telamon has his own motivations, though, and his journey becomes a gripping saga of conquest and rebellion, bloodshed and faith. You might remember Alan Gergainis from his book, The Oldest Living Confederate Widow Tells All, or if you're like me, you remember the TV movie. Now we've pulled together 10 of his stories in the Uncollected Stories of Alan Gergainis. Offering characters antic and tragic, Gergainis charts the human condition as we live it now. His parables recall William Faulkner's scope and Flannery O'Connor's corrosive wit. We encounter a seaside couple fighting to save their dog from Maine's fierce undertow, a mortician whose dedication to his departed clients exceeds all legal limits. And in the lead story, already excerpted in The New Yorker, Cholera strikes a rural village in 1850, and citizens blame their doomed young doctor, even though he saved hundreds. I think this striking collection will help win new fans and will be a special treat for those who already know him. We have a story collection in a completely different style with John Lanchester's Reality and Other Stories. Lanchester is best known for his novels and his economics titles. He wrote a ghost story for friends one year, and they loved it so much that he sent it off to the New Yorker, where it was published, and it is not common for the New Yorker to publish a writer's first short story. Since then, he's written several more eerie stories of contemporary life and the perils of technology that plunk the reader down in the uncanny world of The Twilight Zone or Black Mirror, and this book gathers the best of them. The Plum Trees by Victoria Shore is a poignant tale about one woman's quest to recover her family's history and a story of loss and survival during the Holocaust. In the first decades of the 21st century, Kanzi, an American woman, stumbles upon a family letter sent from Germany in 1945. The letter contains staggering news. Kanzi's great-uncle Harmon, who was transported to Auschwitz with his wife and 3 daughters, might have escaped. Spurred by the discovery and gripped with questions, she sets out to unravel the truth. Most of her family are dead, so Kanzi scours oral testimonies, historical records, and her own fleeting memories. The Plum Trees reconstructs in stirring detail the lives of Herman, his wife, and their daughters from the days before the German occupation of Czechoslovakia through the liberation of Auschwitz and the end of World War II. We have 3 new poetry titles on the Norton list for winter 2021. The first is Floaters by Martin Espada. He takes inspiration from his time working as a tenant lawyer in Brooklyn, the current pain of immigration in Trump's America, and the death of his father, a Puerto Rican photographer whose photograph is on our cover. The photograph portrays an evicted Puerto Rican migrant worker, a father of 9 children, arguing against his eviction. The themes of the collection are migrants and migration, the dead and the hunger that drove them to swim across borders, the evicted tenants Espada represented as a lawyer, the young people playing soccer in an internment camp, the victims and survivors of hurricanes, and Espada's father, himself a migrant to this country, who would one day speak for others like him through his art. Martin Espada has published more than 20 books as a poet, editor, essayist, and translator, including the Pulitzer finalist, The Republic of Poetry. His many honors include the Ruth Lilly Prize, the Shelley Memorial Award, and a Guggenheim Fellowship. Made to Explode is Sandra Beasley's 4th collection of poems. She probes memories of growing up in Virginia in Thomas Jefferson's shadow, where liberal affluence obscured and perpetuated racist aggressions, but where the poet was steeped in the cultural traditions of the American South. Her home in Washington, D.C. inspires prose poems documenting and critiquing our capital's institutions and monuments, and her stirring suite explores Beasley's affiliation with the disabled community. Bold and intimate, Made to Explode untangles the poet's roots and seeks out resonance in society writ large. Now We're Getting Somewhere by Kim Adenizio is a no-holds-barred, dark, and often hilarious collection from a prize-winning poet veering between the poles of self and world. This collection includes the poem To the Woman Crying Uncontrollably in the Next Stall, which has been shared many times on social media, and if you haven't read it, I highly recommended it. Just Google the title and it will come up. The poems are sometimes confessional, sometimes philosophical, weaving from desolation to humor. Kim Adenizio has written 12 books of poetry and prose, including Tell Me, a finalist for the National Book Award in Poetry. Next up is Tin House. They are an independent publisher based in Oregon, and they always have a great selection of books. If you like the show Away on Netflix, You should check out Bright and Dangerous Objects, which is about a woman trying to decide between having a family and following her dream to join a Mars expedition. And their book, The Index of Self-Destructive Acts, is on the long list for the National Book Award for Fiction. The House on Vesper Sands by Porrik Odamo is a Victorian mystery with lots of atmosphere of the dark streets of London. There's a lot of banter between Inspector Cutter and Gideon Bliss, who sort of stumbles into helping out the inspector while they are both trying to figure out what is happening to young women going missing in London. We also have an intrepid female reporter on the case. The publisher at Tin House calls it a mix between Sherlock Holmes and Jane Austen, and Helen MacDonald says it better than me. She called the book funny, eerie, tender, haunting, and unsettling, smokily atmospheric, and fantastically enjoyable. It's a 19th century supernatural procedural mystery that is also an impassioned meditation on love and duty, loss, suffering, power, and injustice. The book comes out in January in the US, and Library Reads votes are due by December 1st. Spanning 4 decades and 2 continents, Bride of the Sea illuminates a family fraught with secrets, rivalries, and estrangements against the backdrop of the Gulf War, 9/11, and a rapidly changing world. When the marriage of Munir and Saida ends, he goes back to Saudi Arabia and she stays in Ohio with their daughter. Her worry that Munir will try to take their daughter away overwhelms her. Soon, Saida disappears with the little girl to build a new secret life, while Munir is left desperately searching for his daughter in a different country for years. This is an Own Voices novel that is perfect for book clubs, with no shortage of topics for lively discussion. It is a coming-of-age tale, a cross-generational family saga, and has more than one love story, all informed by the relationship between 2 countries, pulling them all apart. How to Order the Universe by Maria Jose Ferrata is a moving novel that shares the same literary spirit and sensibilities as The Elegance of the Hedgehog, The Fruit of the Drunken Tree, and How the Garcia Girls Lost Their Accents. For 7-year-old M, the world is guided by a firm set of principles based on her father D's life as a traveling salesman. Enchanted by her father's trade, M convinces him to take her along on his routes, selling hardware supplies amid the backdrop of Pinochet-era Chile. As she becomes part of a tight-knit community of fellow salesmen and grifters, M is regaled with parables and anecdotes that inform her parallel education. In her innocence, M barely notices the rising tensions and precarious nature of their work until she and her father connect with an enigmatic photographer whose presence threatens to upend the whimsical life they've created. The Whispering House by Elizabeth Brooks. On a warm summer's day by the English seaside, 23-year-old Freya spies a pale, pillared house, Burn Hall. Before she can think twice, she's stepped inside to an ornate foyer featuring a striking portrait that evokes her late sister Stella, whose untimely fall from a cliff years before still haunts Freya and her father. When an inexplicable longing leads her back to Burn Hall several weeks later, she meets Corey, a handsome and mysterious young artist who remains in the house to care for his ailing mother. Though she plans to stay just for a few days, she gets pulled in, driven to remain not just by Burn Hall itself, but the strange mother and son pair who inhabit it. Richly plotted and perfectly paced, this mystery has all the lasting appeal of works by Daphne du Maurier, Ruth Ware, Claire Fuller, and Sarah Waters. My last book from Tin House is an illustrated novel. Not a graphic novel, but a novel with illustrations. Justine by Forsythe Harmon is a sharp, intimate portrayal of girlhood and the line between friendship and obsession. Set on Long Island in the late 1990s, Harmon's tale precisely captures the music, styles, attitudes, and the capitalistic and cultural trappings of the era. The novel intimately and movingly addresses the intricacies of an American childhood: female beauty standards, sexual relationships, eating disorders, friendships, and self-identity. We think this will appeal to fans of Megan Abbott, Emma Cline, and Julie Buntin, and the early novels of Lori Moore and Jennifer Egan. New Directions is dedicated to experimental literature, influential foreign works in translation, and avant-garde poetry. Minor Detail, Hurricane Season, and A Treatise on Stars are all longlisted for this year's National Book Award. If you have demand for international literature in your library, you need to look at New Directions. Welcome, Scarlet. Norton distributes Penzler Publishing's American Mystery Classic series, and now we're excited to add on their new imprint, Scarlet. These are all contemporary thrillers, mainly starring women. The editor of the new imprint is Louisa Smith from Book Passage Bookstore. These 3 titles are coming out this fall, and the books are getting good feedback, and I look forward to hearing more from you when you get a chance to read them. The new book from Scarlet is Saving Grace by Debbie Babbitt. In this gripping suspense debut, the first female sheriff of a small mountain town investigates a disappearance that has a frightening similarity to the crimes that shattered her town decades before. We have a quote from Samantha Downing that you can see on the slide, and Joseph Finder said, "An ingenious multi-generational plot reaches a terrifying crescendo you won't easily forget." The American Mystery Classics is a line of newly reissued mystery and detective fiction from the years between the First and Second World Wars, also known as the genre's golden age. You can read 2 of the original Perry Mason novels by Earl Stanley Gardner to go along with the new HBO series. One of the intriguing fall titles is Vultures in the Sky by Todd Downing, who is a member of the Choctaw Nation. And they also have classics from Mary Roberts Reinhardt, Anthony Boucher, Cornell Woolrich, Ellery Queen, Dorothy B. Hughes, and many more. Fantagraphics has been publishing comics and graphic novels since 1976. They publish many original titles every season and also have high-quality reprints of classic comics like Pogo, Peanuts, Disney's Donald Duck and Uncle Scrooge, Mickey Mouse, Prince Valiant, and more. Monsters is the long-awaited new work by Barry Windsor Smith, who is best known for working on licenses like Conan and characters like Wolverine for Marvel. When Blake Bailey walks into a U.S. Army recruitment office in 1964, he is sent to participate in a secret U.S. government experimental program, an unholy continuation of a genetics program that was discovered in Nazi Germany. Bailey's only ally and protector, Sergeant McFarland, intervenes, which sets off a chain of events that spin out of everyone's control. This is part family drama, part espionage thriller, part metaphysical journey. It is an intimate portrait of individuals struggling to reclaim their lives and an epic political odyssey across 2 generations of American history. And totally switching gears, Norton has kids' books. We started a Norton Young Readers imprint last year, and we recently had a New York Times bestseller with Every Night is Pizza Night by Kenji Lopez Alt and Gianna Ruggiero. We also distribute kids' books from Tilbury House, Thames and Hudson, Abbeville, and some of our other clients. I have more Book Buzz videos on our books for children and teens in the playlist, and I'll be posting our Norton Young Readers author preview in mid-October, so please check back for that and share it with your youth services colleagues. I know that was a lot of books, but I didn't even cover all of our titles, so I'm putting links to our catalogs in the description where you can find some more hidden gems. I also have more Book Buzz videos in the library marketing playlist on YouTube where you can catch up on anything you might have missed. And again, we have digital review copies available to request for librarians, booksellers, and educators on Edelweiss and NetGalley. And please do email me if you have any questions. Thank you so much for the work that you've been doing in your communities. Thank you again for listening, and bye for now.